All right, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that this whole massive debate we've been having about where we work, the office, at home, some mix of the two, what if it was all basically decided by one single court case? Yeah, we're talking about a landmark ruling that happened back in 2025, and it could literally redefine our work lives for good.
I mean, this is the question, right? It's been at the center of every workplace argument for years now. We've all been through the countless hybrid models, the big return-to-office pushes. So is it possible we finally have a real definitive answer?
And believe it or not, back in 2025, we got that answer. And it came from a pretty unexpected place, a courtroom. A single legal decision was handed down. And this wasn't just about settling one person's problem. No, this sent actual shockwaves through entire industries. It totally set the stage for a huge shift in how we even think about the office. So the case that kicked this whole thing off, it's called Chandler versus Westpac. And that's a name you're going to want to remember, because it's become as important as any big corporate name out there. Seriously, this was not just another little HR dispute. This was a flat-out defining moment for the future of work.
And the verdict? It was absolutely stunning. The commission didn't just, approve a flexible schedule or a couple days a week at home. No way. They granted the right to work from home full-time. That was the moment, that was the decision that made everyone, from the CEO in the corner office to the brand new hire, just stop and pay attention.
So what was this all about? What was the real conflict here? Well, to really get why this ruling was so huge, you have to look at the two sides going head-to-head. It was a classic showdown, really. Employee flexibility versus the company's expectations.
Okay, so on one side, you've got the employee. They're basically arguing, hey, I can do my job perfectly well, maybe even better, 100% from home. And you can bet they came with proof, performance numbers, projects they nailed, all that stuff. But then, on the other side, you have Westpac. They're insisting that having people in the office is absolutely essential for things like collaboration and team culture. All that stuff that's really hard to measure. This one case just perfectly summed up the exact same argument that was happening in practically every company on the planet.
But look, this conflict didn't just pop up out of nowhere, right? It was really the final result of this massive, years-long experiment we all lived through. And if you look at the timeline of how we got here, you can see exactly how all this pressure was building up.
I mean, the path is pretty clear when you lay it out. Before 2020, the office was just the default. No questions asked. Then bam, the pandemic forces this giant global remote work experiment on all of us. And what came next? That was the great return to office debate through 2023 and 2024. You had companies pushing hard for everyone to come back, and a whole lot of employees pushing right back. That growing tension is exactly what finally boiled over and landed everyone in a courtroom in 2025.
So you might be asking, why does one single case matter so much? Well, the answer comes down to this really powerful idea in law that can turn one decision into a rule book for pretty much everyone else. It's called legal precedent. And here's the key thing to understand. A legal precedent just means that a court's decision in one specific case becomes a guide, or sometimes even a hard and fast rule, for other judges to follow when they see similar cases down the road. It basically sets a whole new standard. It changes the rules of the game for everybody.
Think of it like a ripple effect in a pond. First, you get one new ruling. That's the Chandler case. That first splash establishes a new guideline for what counts as a reasonable request. And from that moment on, every single future case about remote work is going to be influenced by that first decision. It's like a powerful domino effect.
Okay, so that's the case and that's the legal stuff. But let's bring it back to what really matters. What does any of this mean for you? How does some court case from 2025 actually affect your job, like today and tomorrow?
Well, for employees, it's a big deal. This ruling gives you a much stronger legal footing to ask for a full-time remote setup, especially if you can show that your job can be done just as well from home. And for employers, the pressure is seriously on now. They can't just say no anymore because they prefer an in-office culture. They need to have clear, objective, and documented reasons if they're going to deny a request.
And all of this brings us to the final, really provocative question. Has this one ruling basically made the office optional? Now look, it doesn't mean every single job can suddenly be done from home, but what it does mean is that there's been a massive shift in the balance of power. It's forcing all of us to completely rethink the entire purpose of having a central office in the first place. The debate is definitely not over, but one thing's for sure. The ground beneath our feet has permanently, and I mean permanently, shifted.